Have you ever seen these percent sign helpers that float around everywhere in R? They are really nice helper functions that can help you to create nice formatted outputs from dates and numbers. So in today's video, I'm showing you how they work and how you can use them to create formatted text from dates and numbers. So let's dive in. Alright, in my quarter file I've already provided one code chunk, and if you have a date like this, we execute this part here, we see that it is a date and it is a string basically, because you could also write class and then stick this in there and you'd see it's a character. So this is a typical case where you want to take a character vector that you get and transform it into actual dates so that you can do calculations with that. And for that, the reader package has a parse date function and it seems to work. And if I stick this into the class function, we'll see that, okay, this is the date format. I could actually do number calculations with that. So everything is nice and dandy when the format that the date is in actually comes in a nice format like this. But watch what happens when I do use some other formatting. For example, let's take the same date. Let's do the 3rd of December, but use it in a German format. This is typically how we'd write the same date in German. Now things are not so nice anymore. Now we get an NA and we get a warning that things were not able to be parsed. So things just didn't work out. Now if you open up the documentation of the parse date function, then you'd see in the format specification section, you'd see that there are some of these percentage placeholders that you could use to indicate what is the desired format here. So here, if we wanted to translate this, we could just stick into the format argument. We could stick in the exact format that we have here, but we have to use placeholders instead of the actual numbers. So let's create a format, and the first thing is the day. And here, day is just percentage day. All right, let's just throw this in there. Then we know that we have a dot, and then we have a month. So we have to look into the month, and we see here there is percentage M. So let's use that. And then we have another dot followed by the year with 4 digits. So let's use percentage Y. And then you'd see that things worked out and we have a date once again. So if we throw this class function, we'd see this is actually a date. So when it comes to parsing these dates, it's really helpful to understand these percentage placeholders. And if you'd use an incorrect placeholder like a lower Y instead of a capital Y, then you'd see that things didn't work out because this format now expects a 2-digit year, but we actually deliver a 4-digit year. So that's why we throw in correct specification and then things work out again. Now let's do another example where we might run into these percentage placeholders. For example, let's use from the lubridate package, let's use the now function in our current time zone. And with our current time zone, I mean my current time zone, which is Central European time. And this is my current time. And now we could take this date and format it. And for that, we could use the format function. If you look into this function, you'd see that there you can specify stuff. But if you're looking for a list of percentage signs, you might have to look for a long time until you realize that it isn't there. But once you see that there are extra formatting functions for date format or POSIX formats, which date times are, then you'd see if you click in there that here we have a list of things that we could use. So now we could take this current time and put it into any format that we'd like using placeholders from that specific time. So for example, we could make a timestamp that says something like created on, I want to use first day. So I want to get the date. If we scroll up here, we see here that percentage A gives us the full weekday name in the current local. You will see what that means with the current local in a second. So if we do that, we get created on Donnerstag, which is created on Thursday, but in German, well, technically only this Donnerstag is German, the rest is English, of course, but you get the point. Here, current local means that it uses my language that I'm currently in. We'll change that in a second, but for now, let's use some more placeholders to create a nice timestamp. Let's also add the date in here, and then let's go with the abbreviated month, and then we could go with the day of the month as a decimal, and then we could add a year, which is probably just like before percentage Y. let's check, and then we'd see, okay, this is October 31st, 2004. And then let's also add a timestamp. And if we scroll down here, we see that percentage capital H is hours as decimal. And then let's try to guess percentage capital M as minutes. And this looks about right. But just to be sure, you can also see here that capital M is minutes as decimal. Lower M would actually be month, so you have to be careful there. You'd see that if you use the lower M, things would actually render, but it isn't contextually right. So that's why it's better to check once again. Better safe than sorry. Oh, by the way, in case you don't know me, my name is Albert Rapp. I am a mathematician and data scientist, and I help our users with typical data science tasks. If you enjoyed this video, do me a favor and hit the like button so that I know that you like the stuff that I create, or also you can feel free to leave me a comment. I'm always happy to hear from my audience. And with all of that said, let's get back to the video. So I hope you can see how useful these placeholders can be when you want to parse dates or date times or put them into a specific format. And they are actually not that hard to use once you understand that you can just use any text that you want. And if you want to use a placeholder, then you have to use a percentage sign and then use the abbreviation that a list in the documentation will give you. Now, one thing that is still bothering me here is that it uses the German local, which might be fine for your use case, but here I want to have English text, so I need to set my local to English. And for that, I can just get my current local by using the sys.getLocal function. And in there, I do see a whole bunch of local specifications for different things like numeric things, times, for monetary stuff. All of these things can have different locals. And here I always see that the local is de_de.utf8. This .utf8 is just a system specification of my computer. I'm using Ubuntu, but this de_de is really where the important thing is. So to change the language, I will just set my local to en_us, and then everything should work fine. So let's use the sys.setLocal. Then in the local argument, we can take in this stuff here, and then let's just modify this to en_us, which would be English as spoken in the US. So as you probably know, there are different English versions. Here we want to use the US ones. And as you also might know, there are different versions of German. So this is why my system is set to the German spoken in Germany, because I do live in Germany. Anyway, if we now execute this whole code chunk, we see now that Thursday is actually written as Thursday and October is written with a C instead of a K, which means that it uses the English instead of the German spelling. So up until now, I have been focusing on using these placeholders in combination with dates and date times. And I did that because I feel like that's the most important use case, because this will be really painful and a painful thing to work through when you have no idea of how to get text dates into an actual date format or how to format dates into like a timestamp. But of course, there are also other things where these placeholders can be useful. So let me show you one more thing that isn't related to dates or date times. Let's just create a small stupid sentence like you have 10 eggs and 5 apples. Okay, if I execute this, you'll see that, okay, this is just a string, nothing too fancy, right? Now let's try to fill this with variables instead. What we could do here is to use the sprintf function, which is a really powerful function to format text. And also the reason why I'm using this particular function is because this is where placeholders are also really useful. If you execute it like this, then you see that everything still works out nicely. Now, what if we wanted to have this number here variable instead? Then we could say, okay, let's throw in a placeholder, but I have no idea what the placeholder for a number is. So I look into the documentation, and when I scroll down, I do see here another list of abbreviations. And here I see integer values. So I'm guessing this is the I here. So let's use %I. And if we execute this, we do get an error that says too few arguments because we have never specified how these placeholders should be filled. And with the sprintf function, it's really easy. You just have to stick in the things that you want to stick into the placeholders into the function itself. So if we want to fill the first placeholder, so we just use the next argument in the function, and then we see, okay, we have 10 eggs and 5 apples just like before. Same thing could be done with the 5. Let's just go with an integer again. And since this is the second placeholders, we have to throw in the 5 as the second argument. So if we were to change the roles of the 5 and 10 here, so if we do 5 and 10 here, then we'd see that the roles have reverted. Now we have 5 eggs eggs and 10 apples. But this placeholder thing doesn't only work with numbers. Of course, we have learned that it also works with dates and date times, but it also works with good old characters. For example, if we wanted to make the apples variable, let's just throw in a placeholder, and then we have to look up what the abbreviation for characters is. And if we scroll down, we see here that S is the abbreviation for string. All right, so let's throw this in there, and then let's fill the third argument with apples. And now we see that we have the exact same thing, but now we could modify apples to pears. We could also do banana. Banana is kind of cool. Let's go with banana. It's also kind of an odd combination. 5x and 10 bananas. We should do an S here. Let's try to do proper English. So here, once again, placeholders were really useful, and you could imagine sticking in variables instead of hard-coded numbers in here, and then you'd see how useful this could be. One more thing that I have to show you before we go our separate ways, provided that you don't continue watching my videos. If you do continue watching other videos, then I'll see you in the next video. But just in case we do part ways here, I want to show you one more thing that is related to numbers formatting. Let's just copy this part here. And now let's imagine that for some reason we do have 5.2x. I don't know in what kind of word this makes sense, but let's just assume that we live in one where it does make sense. In any case, you'll see here that sprintf will complain that the I placeholder is an invalid format for a floating point number like this. So this is why we have to use something else. And I've also said floating point, so you might realize that you have to use the F placeholder here. So let's stick this in here, and then we see things work. And also we do see here now that we have the floating point numbers up to 6 decimals. That's a whole lot, and we often don't want to have that many, but thankfully we can tweak this placeholder a little bit more to specify our formatting. The easiest way to do that is to just scroll all the way down until you see the examples, and then chances are you'll see something like this where F was used. Let's just go with this one here, and then we stick this in here, and this will specify how many digits we want to have in front of the decimal point and how many digits we want to have after that. Here, let's just go with 2 digits after the decimal point, and now if we execute this, we do see here that we have 5.20x. So with that, we have learned a couple more use cases for how to use these percentage placeholders. I hope that I was able to demystify them for you, and if you enjoyed this video, I'm very certain that you're going to also enjoy my data cleaning masterclass, which helps you to get through data cleaning faster so that you don't spend as much time there and instead can focus on generating the insights that you're looking for. If you're interested in that, you can follow this link here, or if you want to watch some of my other YouTube videos, feel free to check out this playlist here where you'll find a bunch of videos for you to enjoy. Now, with that said, thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.